human resource officers from the different regions. And we all sit together and look at the postings from every single region. And the process is that regions present their postings one after the other, with the permanent secretary and all others sitting there. Observations are made, discussions are held, questions are asked, and recommendations are made as to every postings. And all those are taken on board. And after the process, the permanent secretary endorses every regional postings. And at that point, no other changes could be made until the postings are mounted. Right now, the postings are all mounted, like Mrs. Wari said, and teachers are calling directors, teachers are going to regional offices to make their own observations or give their reasons why they cannot go to certain regions or certain schools, and they ask for a change or a swap or consideration of their postings. And we have time to look at all those, and all the genuine cases are addressed accordingly. And at the moment, like Mr. Swari alluded to, every query, every concern about postings should be directed to the regional offices and not the ministry, because we are ready with postings at that level, and what remains now is for concerns to be addressed at the regional directorate offices.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Poole. Mr. Alpha Kamara, we understand some disparities exist in the distribution process, that is in the distribution of teachers. And can you tell us what some of these disparities are and what is responsible for? What are the likely reasons for these disparities?
Thank you very much, Mr. Ba, and good evening, viewers. Well, like the two directors have already talked about the issue of postings. Posting is actually based on teacher supply and request from the regional offices. Annually, what we do is we prepare our requirements and we send it to the Human Resource Directorate. The Human Resource Directorate looks after this request and prepare consolidated teacher requirements need for that particular year. And they use a formula to do the distribution. That means teacher distribution is established using a proportional distribution and at the basis of the ratio of each region's requirement for that particular year. Now, if you look at the posting, it's based on the enrollment. If you take, for example, the lower basic in Region 1, in 2011-12, they have an enrollment of almost 54,275 with 867 teachers, qualified teachers at the lower basic. Take, for example, Region 5. Region 5 had almost 18,575 students with almost 575 qualified teachers at the lower basic. If you look at this, you will see that there's a disparity based on the enrollment and on the proportion of teachers that have been distributed based upon that enrollment. So in actual sense, the disparity is based upon the enrollment. It's based upon the number of schools in that particular region, the number of children that are enrolled in region, because you know we talk about the people-teacher ratio. But as I gave you the two scenarios of region 1 and region 5. Region 1, I talk about 54,275 and almost 600, 800 plus qualified teachers. But when you look at the people qualified teacher ratio, region 1 is almost having 34 to 1. Which is almost below the 45 to 1 national. And then if you look at Region 5, which almost have 500 and above teachers, they have a people-teacher ratio of almost 22. So at best, Region 5 has a better people-teacher ratio than Region 1. But when you look at the quantity and the number of teachers, It's like Region 1 is having more teachers than Region 5. So in actual sense, the variation or in the distribution of teacher is based upon the enrollment and the enrollment pattern and the size of the schools.
You also talked about teacher supply, the disparities being based on teacher supply. How would you describe the current teacher supply?
Quite right. As I said earlier on, I said the teacher supply has been a problem, especially when you look at qualified teacher ratio. But over the years, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has come up with strategies to ensure that the gap between the qualified teacher ratio and the untrained teacher ratio is closed up. Okay. And this is why the PTC extension program was established in Region 5. And right now, as we talk about Region 5, the proportion of qualified teacher to unqualified teacher ratio is almost 85 to 15. So it means, as a result of the extension program, Region 5 qualified teacher ratio has beefed up. So we almost have 82 on average qualified teacher in every primary school in Region 5. And that means we are steadily doing away with the unqualified or untrained teachers. Now, this process is also rolled over to other regions. Madam Director talked about the peculiarity in Region 6. And this peculiarity goes as far as to the teacher supply and teacher distribution. If you look at Region 6 in the past 5 years, the proportion of qualified teacher to unqualified teacher was almost at par. But as of current, with the expectation of almost 100 and over teachers qualifying this year, I think it's going to beef it up for more than 75% of qualified teachers in Region 6. And that's the same thing that goes on to Region 3, Region 4, and Region 2. So in actual sense, I think the ministry is making giant steps in closing up the gap of having more qualified teachers into the system. Now, let me quickly add up on what Director talked about when you talk about the variation distribution. He mentioned the issue of regional transfer. Those trade-offs are very important issues that have a significant effect on the posting procedures. If, for example, I'm in Region 5, I have my quota of my qualified teachers. But then you have teachers who are opting to move out from Region 5 to Region 2 based on health reasons, based on marital reasons, and based on so many, many reasons that are actually addressed at the regional level. So if you look at my stock by the end of the year, as he said, the posting was very tedious this year because we want to take stock of every teacher that is posted in the school. And we want to see every teacher that appears on the payroll, whether the teacher exists in the region. And if the teacher doesn't exist in that region, where does that teacher go? So you'll be able to build up the proportion of teachers. If I will supply 600 teachers, and then by the end of the year, I have to give an account to the National Posting Committee, whether I still have that number. So you will see the variation. Sometimes you see 400, sometimes you see 300 there and 200 there. And those teachers are mainly moved due to these trade-offs, the transfer, internal transfer, and interregional transfers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamara. Viewers, you are reminded that you're watching the education program, and my guests here are talking about teacher postings at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. Mr. Ibrahim Asedi, can you talk to us about the policy guiding the movement of teachers from one school to another or from one region to another?
Okay, thank you very much, Sada. The teacher posting, as the previous speakers alluded to, is a process. As he rightly said, started from this level of the school to the level of the headquarters, that is at the level of the permanent secretary's office. Teacher movement from one region to another or from one school to another within a region definitely has no policy pronouncement, but has a strategic guideline that addresses the movement of teachers from one location within the region or from one location outside the region to another region. For example, moving teachers from one school to another within the region, the policy, the strategic guidelines to that a teacher has to spend at least